Welcome, my darling pretties, to our Beyond the Dawn of Business podcast for pretty, empowered female entrepreneurs. It's time to step into your power, pretties. Lift each other, support the squad, and choose a life filled with the autonomy and freedom to live your dreams. I'm your host, Dawn Beth, owner and founder of Beyond the Dawn digital business brand and agency. My coffee is hot and my eyelashes are on, so we are ready to go. Hi pretties, and welcome to this episode of the Beyond the Dawn of Business podcast. Today I am delighted to be welcoming my great friend Katie Lloyd, who is a successful business owner and dance school owner as well. I'll give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, darling.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dawn. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with your pretties.
Oh, it's so good to have you. Thank you so much for coming on. And so just give the listeners, I want to say the viewers, but that's not right, the listeners a little bit of information about what it is you do, your businesses, and you know, everything that you've got going on at the moment.
So I come from a line of lots of jazz hands, red lipstick and too much Owlnet hairspray. So I'm a dancer, I suppose, by trade, and I have my own dance school, which is in Southampton. So I've been running that for about 10 years now, and I freelanced before that, so I've always been in the world of jazz hands, like I said. And I evolved into more of a coaching role, and it kind of coincided with lockdown, actually, which was great because I felt like the dance community needed a lot of support at that time. So from there, I took my life coaching qualification, and now I'm an NLP practitioner as well. So I have a membership and online courses for dance teachers, and I'm just transitioning into more of a coaching role as well for one-to-one clients locally.
Yay! And what I love when I hear you talk about your businesses is because when we first met, which is actually 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Wow. We were in such a different place in our businesses back then, and it's been so lovely for me to watch you thrive and grow and change and evolve, and you just seem to have everything kind of sorted now, and you have all of this amazing people that you work with. You have an amazing group and membership. How are you finding it? Are you loving life?
I am, actually. I feel like the balance is just there, Dawnny. So it all kind of seems to work. So I'm a mum as well. Walter's now 4. He starts school in September. So I am feeling there might be a little bit of a shift when he goes to school full time. But yes, I've kind of cut back a little bit on my teaching just to make family life a little bit more manageable. So I'm able to pick him up from school because, you know, dance teachers and dance school owners have to work evenings and weekends. So I think that's probably where the idea for my coaching business evolved from, is from getting that balance and making sure that it all worked for me. I was getting enough fulfillment out of my job, being able to help and serve others is a big thing for me, and obviously being there for Walter and for my friends and my family and my loved ones, because, you know, you can't just be a slave to your business all of the time, can you?
No, and that's one of the things that I was like a massive motivator for me in terms of wanting to work for myself versus going and continuing a corporate career that I'd had like previously. And I love the way that you've always led with Walter in mind, and you've always led with this idea of how your business fits in around the things that are so important to you and the people that are so important to you that you love, and that you've made a way for it all to just balance out. And I know you and I have spoken about balance a lot when we used to regularly meet up and catch up. The balance seemed to be the thing that we were always kind of striving for, so that we could just make sure that we were taking care of those things that were really important to us, but also continuing with our passion. And I know a lot of people listening are probably in that exact same place where they're thinking about how can they do this around their loved ones, their children, their families, their partners. Some people obviously will have other employment situations. It might be a side hustle business that they're trying to get up off the ground, and I think it's just lovely sometimes to hear that you can make it work.
Yeah, you can. It just takes a little bit of planning. And, I think sometimes if you're organised and ask for help, I think that's a good thing to note, just being okay to ask for help. Having really strong boundaries and making sure that you know what it is that lights you up, and kind of being okay to say no to certain things if it doesn't feel completely in alignment to you. So I'd say that's probably helped a lot. I would say as well, so I'm a single mummy, and sometimes that helps in a way, because I do get those down times without Walter. So, I can be really present with him, because I know maybe the next day he'll be staying at his daddy's. So then I can, be catching up with emails. And I'm a little bit different to you, Dawny, because I've always been self-employed and I don't know any different. So I've always had to make my own money, and and there'll be lulls and kind of peaks and troughs through dancing. Like currently right now I'm on my 6-week summer break, so kind of that means no revenue, that means no income, and there's always different ways to find money. But I think being in control of your own destiny, that just sparks me, that lights me up. Definitely I enjoy that. Having to be responsible, I suppose, having to have that responsibility for your own life, and I think I probably thrive upon it.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is with that responsibility, sometimes we can look at that, especially when we're new to being in business, or if we haven't had previous experience, we can sometimes look at that responsibility as a heavy weight. And in fact, I really like to look at it and flip it and think about the freedom that you have.
Definitely. I'm working a little bit today, but I'm not really working this week at all, and I can enjoy Walter. I live down by the beach. I live in Bournemouth, so if it's sunny, I'm normally down the beach. And summertime, I don't really work too much, because I want to be able to enjoy where we live. I want to be able to enjoy my boy, and I want to be able to have fun. I think, sometimes we take life way too seriously. Yes, we've got to pay our mortgage. Yes, we've got to, make sure that the kids are not being feral and they're kind of well fed and that they get to school on time. But ultimately, it's about having fun, isn't it? And that's what people will remember you for your energy and how you made them feel, rather than all of the stuff you get done. And I'm not saying that I don't love a list and I'm not organised. I'm a typical Capricorn. My friends call me Monica. I'm there with the rest of you getting shit done. I really am. But ultimately, you have to have that downtime, and you have to have a good balance. And all of our balance will feel different, right? If you've got older children, for example, they might have kind of go off to uni, so you might have a little bit more time, and then you can work on your side hustle. Or it might be your circumstances have changed in different ways, or you've just had a baby and you don't want to return back to the kind of rat race of the corporate world. So I would just say have courage. If there's any listeners there that are feeling that weight, as you described, and you have to flip it around to freedom, because it can be just that.
Yeah, I love that. And when it comes to the way that you run your business, I know that when we've worked together before and we've spoken about things, I find you to be this type of person who is really, you're just amazing at taking action. And that's always something that I like to kind of suggest and invite people to do, is that look for the areas in your business that create traction, and don't hold back. Just go and give it a go and test it. And if it doesn't work, you can always remove that from your strategy. But if you don't test those things, then sometimes you miss out on vital points where you can make the changes in your business that can actually be those moments of great success and also sources of joy.
That's it, and you don't know until you try, do you? I saw this little kind of affirmation, and it said, "Don't dream, do." And I thought, sometimes we just live in our heads, and I'm full of rainbows and unicorns, but at the same time, you need to get on, and if you want something, you have to strive for it, and you need to take action, like you said. And I think that is probably where I'm good. I'm determined. I've got a lot of grit, a determination, a bit stubborn, some might say, but I just think one of the presuppositions of NLP is there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And I love that, because you're like, okay, well, even if it is a flop, you're still going to have learnings from it. There's still going to be takeaways that you can improve on next time. So whether that be to do with a launch, whether that to be with social media engagement, whether that to be, I don't know, even with hopping on a live and saying and all of the time, you need to be able to be doing something and moving forwards in order to progress. And that, I think, where some people get a little bit stagnant, you need to keep going.
Yeah. And from our point of view, when it comes to the social media side of things, we actually look for what may be on the surface considered to be failures or flops. We actually look for those, and we look for patterns, because that data is so invaluable. It is just so incredibly helpful for us to be able to build strategy for people. So whenever we're doing market research, or whenever we've taken on a new client, or we're looking at the areas of things that they've done, if a client comes to us and says, right, Dawney, I tried to launch, or I've tried to build an audience and it's not working, and I've done this and I've done this, if there is some data there, some evidence that we can find as to what's been tried and what hasn't performed, that's what the term we like to use. It's not that it's a failure, it just hasn't performed as we would have liked. And it's a little bit like doing your dress rehearsal and figuring out where the weak spots in your dress rehearsal is, so that when you go on opening night, you've plugged those weak spots and everything runs really smooth, right? And in other industries, we allow for that, but when it comes to being self-employed, sometimes like having our own businesses, we don't give ourselves that area of grace. And I think we should be less hard on ourselves, and actually just realise that sometimes it's not going to work first time, and what's more important than anything is getting back up, dusting yourself off, and having another go.
Just like a child when they learn to walk, they don't just give up, do they? 'Cause they fall over at the first kind of few steps, they carry on. And I think sometimes we lose that childlike a kind of determination, I suppose, that passion. And I think if you get really clear though, Dawney, on your why and on the legacy that you want to leave behind, and actually the real nitty gritty as to why you're doing this, then it is easy to keep going, because you've got a bigger reason than just paying your bills, or you've got a reason.
I love that, and I would totally 100% agree. I mean, you and I are always on the same page. Whenever we talk business, we're always exactly the same in terms of how we believe things should work and how we believe things can improve the way people think about things. And mindset, it's one of those kind of buzzwords that's bandied about quite regularly in our circles, but actually it's a massive thing that we're not going to stop talking about. We're not going to stop practicing, because essentially everything that we create and we bring out in that abundance outside of ourselves starts with that moment of our mindset and what we believe to be true and what we believe can happen. And what you said then about knowing your why, I could not agree with that more, because I feel like actually quite often when we work with people and we bring clients on, the first thing that we do, and I'm sure it's the same for you when you work with business owners, that we're trying to make sure that there is that clarity over why we are trying to do this. What is the core value that you have as a person? Why is this called to you? What is in alignment with you and your energy and what you want to achieve for yourself and your life, and then looking at your meaning and your purpose and your legacy. These are all things that if you weren't in this kind of like entrepreneurial circle, I don't know if before having a business this was even on my radar. Like I just don't know if those conversations ever happened around me, and now they're like almost the key that unlocks everything, and you have to have that bit first.
Yeah, I was the opposite though, Dawney. So I kind of fell into my dance school business. My mum owned it before I did, and then my business partner and I kind of decided, well, to be honest, my business partner twisted my arm to carry it on, because I knew that I was going to have a family, and I knew that, I was okay just plodding. And then my circumstances changed, and I had Walter, and then I ended up being a single mum, and I was like, right, okay, then that's when my purpose changed, because my identity had changed. It was just me and him, and this kind of lioness came out of me that I needed to protect him, I needed to provide. But that sense of ambition, that sense of determination, I don't think was always there, and it's had to be something that I've had to learn. But that is definitely because my why has changed, essentially. Yeah. And then that filters down, and then your why affects, so your identity then changes your why, which changes your purpose. And then going even lower, you'll think about, well, okay, my behaviours have had to change because of that, circumstances being different, or whatever it may be. So I don't know if any of your listeners will kind of resonate with that. It might be a circumstance. But then the other way you can do it is the opposite way. So you can start at the bottom, change your behaviours, then that will change into who you are, then that will change into your purpose, and then that will change eventually into your identity. So there's kind of two ways of doing it. So we've come about our businesses in the opposite way, but obviously we're at the same point now.
That's it, like we're coming at it from a different angle, but essentially we're aligned on that level. And I love that, because you know, every single person's journey is going to be different. Every single person's introduction into this world will be different, and what resonates with them, and also what they find easy and what takes more work. That I feel like that's an inherently personal thing.
Definitely. But I do think, you know, going back to the whole mindset thing, if you don't mind, Dawney, I think some people, if you are going through a level of change or up leveling at any area of your life, whether that be your own emotional well-being, your fitness, your business, you know, whether that be with your family, some people don't get that you can change and that you can evolve. And I think that can be hard, because you always get trapped into a box. So for example, if you're working in a corporate role, that is the box that you're in. And if you try and branch out, there will be people that won't understand that. And then likewise, people that meet me now, like the Katie that I am now, I like, you know, don't understand that I wasn't always this ambitious, or that I didn't always have this drive, or I haven't always spoken about positive affirmations and, you know, emotional well-being and stuff. And they're like, but that's who you are. And I'm like, I know, but you didn't know me before. Like, this wasn't me. So I do think you can change, and I do think you can evolve for the better. So if there are people that maybe are early doors in their businesses, or haven't even started yet, or, you know, are going through the shift of maybe having a full-time job, having it as a side hustle, and they want to flip that over, just go for it, just do it. And I think consistency with everything like that, whether that be your mindset, whether that be meditating in the morning, whether that be looking after yourself, staying hydrated, you know, whatever it is that you need to do, listening to positive songs, or, you know, everyone who's listening is already doing the right thing, because they're already listening to your podcast. You know, they're already putting themselves into that zone of learning, aren't they? So they can be a better person.
Yeah, and I love that. And, you know, you touched on so many amazing things there. And I think when it comes to changing your behaviours and doing what you need to do to make that shift for yourself, that's an area of mastery that I feel really super grateful to be amongst. Like, there are so many people in my circle, so many people that I consider to be friends that work in that arena. And one of the amazing things that I've been learning about this year is positive psychology. And I think you'll love this, that it's been proven that every single day 1% of our cells regenerate, and that we actually when we have positive emotions, when we, and this isn't about also it's not about denying negative emotions either. You know, part of the human condition is that there will be times that things aren't ideal, and there will be emotions that we would consider to be negative, but you can't go to that like toxic positivity arena where you completely ignore those emotions. But those emotions are there to teach you something and to show you something, and to be used in a way that you can actually look at that and you can flip it, and you can include positivity on top of that. And when you do, and you have a high level of positive emotions, and you work on your mindset, you actually can change yourself at a cellular level. So if you do that every day, and every day 1% of your cells renew with that new included level of mindset work, that new included level of positivity, then literally by this time next year, you can literally be a completely different person. And when people come to us and say, oh, you know, I've started my business and feeling really passionate, things are going really well, but my best friend Betty doesn't understand what I'm going on about, because she preferred it when I worked in the office, and she doesn't understand what it is I'm doing, and I feel really disconnected from people that I previously felt incredibly connected to. I think, unfortunately, that's something that almost every entrepreneur that I've met can resonate with on some level. So that's such an amazing point. And I think you just have to make sure that you do have some business besties, for lack of a better term. You just have to make sure that you have some people who get it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think not everyone does get it. And you'll ask your mum, your best friend, your husband, or whatever about, price increases or what social media posts, and they're not your ideal clients. So even if you think you're doing the right thing by including them, sometimes their advice isn't even the best advice, is it? Right. So definitely, have you heard the phrase, your vibe attracts your tribe?
Yes.
I love that one, and it's so true, isn't it? So you need to keep your vibe high, so then you're attracting the right people. And unfortunately, there may be people that you outgrow. When I was going through change in my personal life, one of my girlfriends said to me, they're friends for a reason, friends for a season, and they're friends for life. And sometimes, people that we kind of thought were friends for life may just be friends for a season, and that's completely fine. It's nothing. It's not about you being better than them or anything like that. It's just you evolving.
Yeah, and I think what I've really enjoyed, and something that I've been more aware of maybe in the last 12 months than ever before, is that I had previously looked at those evolving relationships with some sadness, and now I really feel completely differently with the mindset work that I've done for myself. I look at those relationships for what they were at that time, and I'm just incredibly grateful. Because at the time that they were intact and that we were aligned, that was an amazing time in my life, and I believe it will have been an amazing time in those friends' lives. And we took care of each other, and we did what we needed to do to help another human, at that time. And we may not all be absolutely aligned right now, but there's nothing but love and good wishes and goodwill going in their direction. And yes, I am the boring friend now that when you take me out for dinner, I find it very difficult not to talk about my business. We have to, because my sister is in my business as well. When we have family gatherings, we have to make a rule that me and Susan don't talk business, about work, because we'll get into a flow and we'll start talking about things. We'll start talking about what we can evolve and what we need to do, and we find it really difficult. We have some in my family. I'm so grateful, but my two sisters, my husband and my sister's husband, we have really what I consider to be really high level kind of intelligent discussion. And it really feeds my soul. And sometimes we get so deep, we don't mean to, but we have these really I can't say this word, philosophical discussions. And I love it. And then, but you do get the urge to talk about business. You get the urge to talk about the world, and especially with such a level of profound things that have been happening for us over the last 12 to 18 months as well. It can get difficult to not go there. But I think essentially, it's like what you said about the boundaries thing. It's almost like a very similar thing. Like you don't have to not talk about your business, but make sure that you have that group of people who you love and trust. And I mean, you're in that camp for me, Katie. Somebody that I know that I could just text you and say, "Hey, can we have a brew and jump on Zoom and let's chat?" And I just know that we both could just go blah. This is what's happening.
You have to have those safe spaces. Yeah, you do. You have to have those safe spaces, and you have to almost have different groups of friends for different things, I think. And I've been having this conversation recently, and I kind of want an all-rounder. And I just say, no, it's okay. I can have these people that I want to party with. I can have these mummy friends that I kind of, I focused on Walter, and have these businessy friends, and I have my friends that I've experienced loads of incredible memories with in the past, whether that be in time in dance school or holidays that I've been on with the girls and stuff. And you need like a big collection, I think, of different people that are going to balance you out, and they're going to kind of make you have that lovely equilibrium, so then you don't get too kind of focused or channeled on one area of your life, because that's not going to help your business, is it? It's not going to help you develop any. I'm thinking of social media point of view. Not going to help you develop any content. I know Donnie's going to be laughing at me, thinking, "Oh, she's thinking about the social media already."
No, but you're so right. And I think one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves is that we have to kind of conform to labels. We've got ourselves accustomed to saying, "Oh, I'm Dawn, I am this person, and I am this person, I am this person, and that defines me." And sometimes we can cut ourselves off from other opportunities, we can cut ourselves off from other experiences. Like, you are a beautiful rainbow spectrum of a human being, and you don't have to find those boxes and go sit in them. You can do whatever you want. The roof has been ripped off this situation, and you are free. And the possibilities for you when you adopt and accept that mindset of actually there is nothing holding you back, there is nothing stopping you, allows you just this massive level of freedom, and just the possibilities just become, you know, easier for you to see and recognize. And I also think that when you're in that headspace, and when you get to that place where you feel comfortable in that arena for yourself internally, you start to see opportunities rather than the things that may be blocks or hurdles to overcome. You start to see the things that actually can happen for you and how you can get there, which is obviously so valuable.
So from an NLP point of view, it's interesting you say that, because you can be wired certain ways in your brain. So someone could be a towards person and someone could be an away from person. So some people would go away from problems and some people will go towards solutions. So, you know, essentially you're getting to the same point, but you're just coming at it from a different point of view. But I do think if you've got a positive mindset, you can shift to more of a towards person. So you're not looking for the issues, you're not looking for the problems, you're not looking for the things that are going to stop and hold you back. You're looking for, you know, what can go right? Okay, yeah, I might have to do this, I might have to do that, and you know that she's not going to like that, or I'm going to upset, you know, but actually what can go right? You know, what can we think about that's going to be the positive outcome from this? And then once you've shifted into that, I don't think you ever go back. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't think you ever do.
Because it just serves you so well. And also, like, if you get to that point where you're that self-aware and you understand how your brain works and you understand how your emotional centre, you know, kind of feeds into how your brain works, then of course you can look at that and you can create ways to make it a habit.
That's it, yeah, because you can be like, okay, well, I know this is my trigger, I know this is my default way to act. Okay, so in this circumstance, I'm heading towards this goal. This is how I'd usually be. Why don't I try it like this? And I do think when you get that level of self-awareness, and, you know, as women, there's things that are always going to be, you know, busy, hormones, you know, children, things like that, wanting to be the caregiver, I suppose. You know, there's going to be things all the time. But essentially, if we can be really good role models to our kids, be really good role models to the next generation. Obviously, I teach lots of little ballerinas at my dance school. You know, I think they can look up to us and know that we all were striving for more, not just for us, for our kind of sisters that are behind us and the sisters that are in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the nicest thing about that is that when I look at the generation before us, I don't see a lot of examples of women truly taking that time to get to know themselves the way that I feel it's almost become more accepted, I guess. It's a conversation that's happening more frequently. I mean, I could be totally wrong here. It's only from my perception that I'm noticing that, but it feels like something has changed. And it was a little bit like, if you remember when all of the things on social media were starting to trend in terms of women empowering other women and women supporting women. And I know you and I, when we first met at a meetup, a membership meetup, but one of the things that I felt really connected us was we had that same feeling of leading with that kind of open, welcoming, warm energy, where actually we take care of each other. We're going to make sure.
But that's because we know ourselves, and we know, and we're okay with not being everyone's cup of tea. And I think that goes back to the point that you made about, you know, it's okay and it's acceptable to know ourselves, but we really know ourselves. So then we can be like, this is us, this is how I am in my space. You know, if you like it, then that's wonderful. And if you don't, then there'll be someone else who will be better suited to you. But I'm coming from a heart-centered place, and this is me. You know, like it or lump it. And that's kind of, I think, but being okay to not be disliked, I'm not saying dislike, but, you know, being okay to have that self-belief and that kind of confidence within ourselves is, you know, it's taken however many years to get here, right, darling?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's a continuous thing. But I love that quote. I saw it on the internet years and years ago, and it's never left me. And it says something along the lines of, confidence is not walking into a room and needing everybody to like you. Confidence is walking into the room and knowing that you'll be okay if they don't.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love that. I love that. Just that inner, strength that I like me. I know that I'm a good person. I like me. I don't need the external validation. And I was definitely part of the external validation club prior to this kind of personal growth that I've been through the last few years. I needed to look externally for people to tell me that I was worthy. And now, like, hearing that from other people is a beautiful thing, and I still love it. However, I don't need anyone else to tell me that anymore, because I found that within myself. And if there's one gift I would wish for every person, but specifically every woman, that would be it.
Definitely. Oh, here, chin chin.
Chin. We need some champagne to clink.
Exactly. Clink our tea. Here we go. Cheers to that.
Cheers, darling. Cheers. So when it comes to business, what's been the biggest thing that's happened to you maybe in the last 12 months? What's been happening for you over in your camp?
So we in lockdown. I mean, let's just talk about lockdown, right?
Sure.
Whew, I mean, it was crazy. It was just crazy. So I supported my my kind of audience, I suppose, by taking their dance schools online. And obviously, me and you in the coaching world have been used to Zoom forever, but for everyone else, it was really, really new, and it was just about all of us finding our feet. And essentially, we just changed our business models overnight. Some were doing pre-recorded classes, some were doing live classes straight away, some people were doing Facebook Live, whatever. Everyone had tried it, but again, the thing was, we tried it and we had to, because we had that deadline. There, it's either that or we just shut our businesses for a year, which some people, chose to take some time, which is totally fine, and think about, especially if they're homeschooling, it was a crazy one. So I would say that the last focus for Shine, my dance school, has just been to survive and to support our local community, but not necessarily in terms of big growth or anything. However, during that time, we did win Dance School of the Year, and we won the Gold Award for that. So that really kind of was so good that we just, in a crazy year, we had this kind of, recognition, which I think just gave everyone a massive boost, especially us as staff and the team there. But essentially, we haven't been able to celebrate that with the kids yet, So when everything is kind of finally back to normal, we are definitely going to have a big celebration. So that's been happening with one business, my dance school, and then with my coaching, I just feel so privileged, I suppose is the word, to be able to support women through shifts and changes and leveling up, stepping up into who they are destined to be. And I've just got such a passion for that. So I've got a couple of online programs and I've got my membership. But I suppose the biggest thing for me is the one-to-ones, because you can get down, and I was going to say down and dirty, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Get right into their brains, get right into their minds, and sometimes we have, like you said about glass ceilings before, sometimes with limiting beliefs or maybe conditioning that we've had or how we've grown up. There's so much that goes into our little lives, isn't there?
Yeah.
So there kind of is a wall, I describe it, around of things that may be just holding you back or just no longer serving you. They might have been protecting you at one point, but you just don't need them anymore. And I think with coaching, sometimes you can just take one brick at a time, and they might be from different areas, a bit like Jenga, and then the whole wall will fall down. And sometimes they just get a sledgehammer out and they just whack it away and you can see it. And I just love that people can grow and evolve and just step into the future versions of them. So that is where my passion is right now. But yeah, it's been a crazy year of growth, lots of change in my own personal life as well. But I feel great. I feel like this is where I'm meant to be.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is where you're meant to be. And I totally understand what you're saying about the one-to-one scenarios as well. What I've really found over the last kind of 12 months is because one-to-one sessions are so bespoke to the client that you have in front of you. Of course, it's entirely, you might use a framework, or you might have a toolkit as a coach, and you might have lots of expertise. But you know, when you meet that person and you get into that, when you get down and dirty, when you get down and dirty into what it is that they need. No two clients are the same, you know, and there's always a way to tailor what it is that you're supporting them through, based on obviously your level of expertise and what you have available to you in terms of like your toolkit and your qualifications and things. And I think for me, I'd done so many one-to-ones the previous year, and I'd seen changes and things unblock, and those breakthroughs and aha moments, and not always in business. Sometimes they were personal aha moments.
I mostly come with business stuff, and then it's actually, the problem is never the problem. That's what I found out over the year. The problem's never the problem. Definitely. Yes. I'm so with you. Yeah.
And you know, the one-to-one situation is that when you have them, if you're listening to this now and it's the first, and you've not had a one-to-one client yet, or you're just taking on your first one-to-one clients, it's a really strange place to be in, because you know that you can help people, you know that you have the skills and expertise to support them, but you might not have had enough of those one-to-one clients to be able to actually see the tangible results on the flip side. And then when you get to where you and I are at now, Katie, where we've actually had years of one-to-one clients, every single time we get to a stage with a client and I can see the breakthrough, I can see the results, and I can see things start to shift and work for them. And sometimes those are personal gains, sometimes those are business gains, sometimes they're emotional gains, oftentimes obviously they're financial gains, but all of these things, when you start to see them, it's like seeing everything click into place. And I remember thinking, which I don't know whether I should admit or not, but I'm going to, but I remember thinking after maybe my first 6 or 7 one-to-one clients, and I'm going back a couple of years now, I hope that I can help them all, and I hope that this is working, and I hope that the traction, because in every individual session it was looking like things were moving, but you have to look at it sometimes from a bird's eye view. What you were saying about sometimes it's a brick by brick situation. My first one-to-one clients were brick by brick situations, you know, and I did have some sledgehammer. I still have some sledgehammer ones, but they came a little bit later. That happened a bit later. Now, looking back on the clients, I can actually see the result. I can see the work. I can see what's happened and how well it works. And there is like a tangible element to that now. So I can say I have coached over 200 women, and they every single time they get results, but that result will be different for them for what their needs are. So stick with it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, go for it.
Yeah, and if any listeners haven't had a one-to-one, you know, whether that be coaching or therapy or any advice, you know, business advice, whether in maybe an area of expertise that they're not 100% in, then go for it and book it, because like you said, the results that you will get are tremendous. And also, I kind of feel like sometimes with coaching or one-to-ones, it's not like, you know, like when you go to the gym and the weight loss isn't sudden, you've got your metabolism ticking after you've done your HIIT workout or something. It's a bit like that. Yes. So you plant all these seeds, don't you, in the coaching session, and you take out a few bricks, and then maybe the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month, it's still going, it's still ticking along, isn't it? And I think that is where the progress is, isn't it? Sometimes it's after.
I totally agree with that. And, you know, with that in mind, I think sometimes when people choose to go for a one-to-one situation versus maybe a course or a group program or a mastermind, oftentimes that individual accountability and the regular meeting that you have, where you can make sure that those actionable steps, whatever they may be, have been sorted out, they have been done. If they haven't been done, there's support from somebody to help you get them done, and it creates traction. It just creates traction, and you know, it's a wheel that is moving all the time, rather than this start-stop culture, which we can sometimes accidentally buy into when we believe that, oh, today I've got 7 hours without the kids, or I don't have to do the laundry today, or whatever it is. So today I'm going to do all the business stuff, which never works because the business work never ends. And you can just put yourself in that, you know, that stage of like complete burnout.
Yeah, that is so funny because, you know, over the summer, like, well, what have you got to do today? And I'm like, well, I'm not working. Well, have you not got anything to do? I'm like, well, I'm self-employed, so I've always got something to do. But actually, no, I'm going to choose to not work, you know. There's always something, isn't there? You could always, you know, you kind of, you're 1 minute you're day from accounts, the next minute you're kind of Sally in social media, aren't you? And literally you're wearing all of these hats all of the time. Yeah. So, you know, you have to choose to say no, and you have to choose to switch off. But totally, I think everything, running your own business is like you said, getting that ball rolling. And a bit like, you know, when you build a snowball, the more you do it, the bigger it gets and the bigger it gets. And sometimes we don't value that consistency and the compound effect that kind of keeping on going even when you don't think, you know, anyone's showing up for on your socials, or you get crickets when you do a post, or, you know, anything, you know, your email, you don't get any replies to your email, you put an offer out there, or, you know, a workshop that you've got isn't full, or whatever it may be, but you've got to keep on going, because without you realising, people are watching, and once that snowball gets going, then it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, I really like it when there's been plenty of times it's happened to me loads, and I know it's happened to loads of my clients, and I'm sure it will have happened to you at some stage, that we put out offers and we put things out and we maybe don't get that immediate performance that we want from that thing, and then somewhere down the line we'll put something else out, we'll carry on because, you know, the grit, the resilience, we dust ourselves off, we get back to it, and then somebody who was watching last time that didn't buys this time, and that lurker that you almost could have completely discounted, you know, that person who you don't know is even watching right now but is there, and they're in front of you. And what you said about sowing seeds is so true. So much of what we're doing today might not benefit us today.
I think sometimes, you know, you need to know when to give up as a business owner as well, when things aren't being that kind of, they're not working for you. And also some things just aren't your area of expertise. And like I said at the beginning, like, I think the reason why I've got to where I am now is because I'm okay to ask for help. And whether that be outsourcing, you know, if there's areas of business that you aren't particularly great at, or you don't enjoy doing, you know, you might be able to do it with your eyes closed, but if you don't enjoy it, there are people out there that can definitely help. And I think, we don't have to be wearing all of these hats all of the time if we kind of just can take a little step back and put our pride in our pocket and ask for a little bit of support.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what I hear a lot of the time when people are on that kind of precipice of outsourcing is that there's a fear in terms of the investment. But every single time we see somebody invest in our services like social media management or anything like that, we know then that what happens is they free up their time and they can actually go and do the things that create more revenue in their businesses, because that has to be them. Like that has to come from them. But the person who is potentially replying to emails or setting up your funnels or doing something on your website or your social media or any of those things doesn't actually need to be you. And you get to a stage where you're thinking, okay, where is my actual zone of genius in the center of this little universe I've created for us all? Like, where do I fit in, and what should I prioritize? And sometimes I think just looking at what needs to be done in the never-ending job spectrum of being an entrepreneur, like prioritizing well is a really lovely skill. It's a really, really effective skill.
Yeah, definitely. But it's, you know, one that we all have to learn. I know we'll all be there answering emails at midnight and then sending typos or sending them to the wrong person, forgetting attachments. Maybe that is when you need to ask for some help, you know, when you are doing that. Yeah.
Like the step before. Yeah. Have you ever suffered burnout? Have you ever been through a stage where you've just kind of gone...
Yeah, loads of times. Because I am very determined and I am relentless, I suppose, and I just put way too much pressure on myself. I would say some things I don't look at the detail. That's not where my zone of genius is. I'm definitely a bigger picture person, and I can see where I'm going, and I love to have that North Star. But in all the details, I'm not that great. So then if I have to do all of that side of it, I just find that quite challenging. So, if you do check out my social media, there'll be typos, there'll be errors, there'll be spelling mistakes. That's not where I'm best at. But yeah, definitely I've been in burnout like so many times, not to the point that I've made myself ill, because I do have quite a good self-awareness. I think maybe as a dancer, I've got a really good knowledge of my body as well, and I think that helps. And I've got a good support network around me that kind of check me, essentially. But one thing I have struggled with, and this is first world problems, Dawny. I mean, I like a lifestyle, but not being able to go away and not being able to travel in lockdown, I found that hard, because that usually would be my default switch off, email out. And whereas you can take days off here and there, and as I said, I live by the beach, and it's not like I don't take time, but having that extended break, I think that's what I've needed. And then there were points at lockdown where I was low, but I feel like everyone was low. So you don't want to moan about it, because there's so many people that are in the same situation or worse situations than you. But yeah, definitely. And it's an exhausting place to be, isn't it, when you're on that brink of tiredness, But then that's usually when an up level happens as well. So, you have to have the yin and the yang, and you have to have the light and the dark to learn the lessons.
That's so true. And I think both of us have been in that place previously where we have felt stressed and we felt overwhelmed, and we've spoken to each other, and it's been like, oh my gosh, this is happening and this is happening, and everything's moving, and I need to do this and I need to figure this out. And you just feel somewhat emotionally fatigued as well as physically fatigued. And then in the days and weeks that come from that, things up level and everything gets better again. And it's like, oh, so this was why.
Yeah.
This was why that happened and why I had to go through that thing. But in terms of what you said about refilling your kind of energy cup and not being able to travel, that is so important. You're so beautifully self-aware, and I know it serves you so well, but just being able to know that actually that's one of the things that brings you such a great sense of joy, that at the moment not being able to do that through what we've talked about this before as well, the things that are outside of your circle of influence, but knowing about it and being aware of it and looking at the opportunities for when that can happen again. I'm going to really look forward to seeing those pictures when you do get to go away.
I think for me, my dad lives in Bali, and we haven't been able to see him for ages because of lockdown. And I was, going to see him because I'd only plucked up the courage to travel with a then 2.5-year-old Walter, and now we're kind of 2 years down the line. So I think for me, travel means family and family time. Yeah. And I feel like, and it's just, doing what you need to fill up your cup, whether that be for some people getting up at sunrise and watching sunrise, or meditating, or going for a run, or spa days. I'm just talking about all the stuff that I like right there, actually. For some people it might be Netflix and chill, and sitting in silence and not talking to anyone. We've all got our things. But I would say that as life does return to normal, then we need to, we've been in the hustle because there's been nothing else to do. Really, that's how I felt the first lockdown. There was nothing else for me to do apart from work on my business. So like you said, I'm reaping the rewards now. But essentially, you need to have longevity in your businesses. Otherwise, they're not going to work for you, and you'll end up resenting them. And then your purpose will be wrong, and then your alignment will be wrong. So it's just keeping track of it all of the time. And having a good team around you does help, because then they can notice your triggers, or notice when you're feeling a bit tired or cranky or burnt out, and they can tell you to stop. Sometimes we do need to be told, don't we? Yeah,
I think we do. And going back to that discussion that we had earlier, talking about how good it is to have some people who understand what this business situation is like, I noticed that in my membership, and I bet you do in yours as well, that because the women that are in the pro members are so in tune with each other, that actually when people are posting and people are showing up to group coaching, we can tell, and we do kind of check in with each other. And you know what's really lovely is there's been so many stories of when somebody's shown up to a training or a group coaching or whatever, and then somebody else who was on that call has then gone and sent them a message and said, hey, I saw you today and something wasn't quite right, and I want you to know that, you know, you're supported and you're loved, and I hope you're okay. And oftentimes then what happens is the other person goes, you're right, you're so right. Like almost like a sixth sense in a way. Like I could just tell.
I've had that myself, because I will show up jazz hands and, you know, sparkles and, you know, be all buoyant all of the time because I'm trying to raise the spirits of my own community. And then I'll get it where the girls will message me and be like, you all right? You know, and I'll be like, actually, wow, okay, I was trying really hard to hide that, but okay, I'm not okay, actually. And then they will be that for me. And I think once you have that loving community, you know, your soul sisters, as we all call each other in my membership, like, you know, that is so powerful, just knowing that you've got, and it's so ironic because I've got a retreat coming up with the girls in my membership. So some of them, we've known each other like a year and a half. We haven't even met.
That's
because
exactly
it's all been
the
online.
same. We're doing the exact same thing with pro members.
We know each other. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. It's so good. I can't wait.
It's going to be so good. I can't wait to hear all about yours, and I'll let you know how ours goes as well. But exactly the same as what you've just said. Like, we adore each other and we are like a family, and yet this will be the opportunity for some of us to meet for the first time.
Yeah, I know. It's great, isn't it?
It's so great.
It's just, you know, just Wi-Fi in a dream. That really, you know, for those who are worried about starting, that's all you need. You just need Wi-Fi in a dream, and I think we're both kind of precedent to the fact that it can happen, and it does happen, and you can be a normal girl, and you don't have to say all the same hang-ups. You know, you don't have to be special to do this. You just need to have a passion.
Yeah, and I think that is a perfect place to end this amazing interview, with you saying, all you need is Wi-Fi and a dream. I love that. I love that. So where can people come and find you on socials, darling, if they want to come and follow you?
So my website and social media is all Katie Lloyd Coaching. So it's Katie and then Lloyd like the bank. So yeah, come and give me a follow. I do talk to dance teachers, but I do coaching as well. So if anyone wants some mindset help or anything, then yeah, get in touch.
That's amazing. And you're in our Social Pretties free group as well, aren't you? So
yeah, tag me. If you need some rainbows and unicorns, I'm always there with jazz hands.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting to me today. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I leave the interview feeling better than I did when I turned up, just from being in your company. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Dawnee. Likewise, thank you.
If you're loving our Pretty podcast, come on over to Social Pretties, our online safe house and sisterhood community. It's a safe space where female entrepreneurs connect and thrive in a warm, welcoming fold of pretty amazing women. You'll find an easy redirect in the description, and I can't wait to see you in there. And depending on where you're listening right now, we would love it if you would click subscribe or follow so that you can be the first to know when our new podcasts come out.